Namaskar, everyone. Welcome to day 39. Do you know that when you walk up a multi-story building, as you walk to each floor, the view changes. And especially when you come to the higher floors, the view is absolutely expansive. You can see what you couldn't see at the lower floors. Where would you like to be? Where would you like to have your residence? On the lower floor or on the higher floor? They're all safe. Where would you like to have your residence? Would it be based on the view that you are having? When you go higher up, you can see a panoramic view of your surroundings. And especially if it's built in a beautiful location. So our perspective of where we are naturally changes as you climb the floors. What if you climb the floors in the inner world? What if you climb the floors in the inner world? How would your view change? And then, how would your life change because of it? Ignorance of your territory will begin to go, begin to disappear. And you'll have a greater appreciation for what is around you. The same applies to us. This time it's not about the higher we go, it's about the deeper we go. The view changes. In a sense, it's also higher, because as you ascend the different chakras, the deeper and deeper and deeper you go inside. I told you the crown is everywhere. So when you get into the crown, you're visiting every chakra in a deeper way. You are seeing every chakra in a deeper way when you start visiting the crown. Exciting, isn't it? Now you can see why I got so excited about this sadhana. Because the more I went within, the view of my landscape changed. Some of you are already experiencing this. Your view of life changes. So the lower chakras, especially the lowest one, Muladhara. Now, just to remind you, you're not the body. Shall I tell you? You're not the body. The body perishes. The body is a suit. And in the sense of travel, it's a vehicle. In the sense of vesture, it's a suit that your soul wears. But if you get so caught and stuck in body consciousness, guess what your view is? Every human being is a human being, a physical human being. A living, mating, eating, pleasure-seeking, power-seeking creature. That's what you see other human beings as. And we become territorial, we become manipulative, we begin to seek power and pleasure. That's human existence, that creature existence, because we tied our consciousness to this human animal. We tied our consciousness to this human animal. How long will the soul with such potential for joy and freedom and creativity stay tied to this creature? How long will it stay tied? Wanting to only see souls as creatures. It wouldn't be fit too long. In a higher sense, If you are the crawling creature, you will think that the time is long, real long. The more you identify with the subtle world, time passes quickly. The concept of time changes. So the more preoccupied you are with the first 3 chakras or the first 2 chakras, the more human you are. The more driven by the creature, its hormones, its reptilian and limbic brains. Because that's all your soul can manifest in this creature. Do you know that the humanoids from before, their brain didn't have the shape as we have it now, after millions of years, based on the evolution of the creature? The brain changed. And the early humanoid, they couldn't create as we create now because they didn't have the brain capacity. The soul couldn't manifest. So they, as weapons for survival, they created spears out of stones and wood. They weren't capable of much. They didn't have a complex language like we have now. So over millions of years, the skull changed. If you look at early specimens, it's more ape-like. So the human creature evolved over time biologically, and then more and more advanced souls were able to come into the human creature to get involved in this play. So you see evolution differently. So the first 3 chakras gives you the view of human. And the Manipura, when it begins to develop, begins to give you the power to manipulate this human. The soul gets more power than Manipura than at the lower 2. The lower 2 are designed for being in the physical body, for sexuality, for generative power, reproduction. Important. And it's a nourishment chakra as well. Because to develop that kind of reproductive power, you need a good body. In Ayurveda, they will say that that reproductive fluid is full of what we call ojas, the finest subtle substance in the body itself. It's very powerful. And that's why in the spiritual practices, we try to keep that reproductive fluid and don't waste it. So the Manipura gives us that kind of that brain in the gut brain, with the ability to begin to master the human experience and to grow in consciousness more. But the view of the soul changes as it ascends the chakras. When it comes to Manipura, the soul has a different appreciation for existence. It can find power to control its lower nature and begin the development of a higher nature. So it's ascending the floors of consciousness, as it were. When it comes to that's what we call the granthi as well, a knot that we have to open up so that the spiritual consciousness grows. Lower area is the creative knot, generative knot, Brahma granthi. When you come to the heart chakra, you are now in soul consciousness territory. You begin to feel different, see differently. Emotional. That's how, as societies, we created music and poetry and culture and architecture and a whole lot of other things that and Bhakti Yoga grew. It's more celebratory. We see life differently. We are now seeing higher qualities in the human creature. We are realizing now that there's a jewel inside. And as we grow in that consciousness, the human being is still there, the human consciousness is still there, but the spiritual consciousness now is growing. So when we observe society now, we are able to use more emotion in our expressions. And we begin to see now not just the lower nature of the creatures outside, we begin to now appreciate and understand that a higher quality exists within all. And those of us who carry the more consciousness in that evolutionary process, we begin to engage now in more social kind of cultural existence, refining our senses. And you see it in the history as well, the development of civilization. So the view of life becomes different. But of course, when that area is first being awakened, the manipulative consciousness of the lower area is still there and needs to be refined. And so we grow in consciousness. We grow in consciousness. Through spiritual practices, through the natural spiritual evolution, we grow in consciousness and we begin to see life differently. And higher souls are born in the world because the human being, the human race is able to express more and more of its consciousness as there's awakening, collective awakening in the human society. So higher souls are able to express themselves. They come into the body. And they are coming to work through higher karmas, more subtle karmas. But you see, the society develops as well. Greater souls are being born with a different viewpoint, a different consciousness. So spirituality begins to grow in the collective existence. Definitely, we move into the higher yugas during those periods. And that continues. We develop speech, lovingness, we're able to control the lower nature more, we express more light into lower nature, civilization grows, spirituality grows, consciousness expands. We are under higher floors of spirituality, so to speak, soul expressions. And the next step is, that's called Vishnu Granthi. It really nourishes society. It brings brightness. The consciousness changes. And then the next step in the evolutionary process is Rudra Granthi. This gives us more clarity of consciousness and more mental power to begin to destroy the beliefs that are more based on ignorance, darkness. So a whole new culture develops and Rudra Granthi comes in. Higher souls come in to the human existence. And they bring new ideas, they bring new inspiration, new energies, more advanced souls come. And then the consciousness of our world makes another step. That's why in the yugas we have Dwapara Yuga, where the change begins. Then you have the Treta Yuga, where more mental change begins. And more spirituality is the more sattva, and then finally we'll have the golden age of Satyuga, where truth and higher consciousness prevails, and as the cosmology of the yugas are or is. The Satyuga is the longest period. And the Kali Yuga, the dark period, is the shortest period. That's the play of the yugas. And it gets shorter and shorter as you go down to the dark yugas. Then Kali Yuga is the shortest yuga. So it's a beautiful play. So when the Rudra Granthi begins to open up, we use more of the brain capacity of the human being. And we see life differently. We are able to see now in each other more divinity. And we're able to relate to each other with more divinity. And this consciousness that the Christ spoke about, see your neighbor as you see yourself, will become very natural to us. There'll be no fighting then and manipulation and bullying and in an international way, global way. There will be no suffering, there will be more sharing. Human beings will be far, far more compassionate than we see now on the stage. But those of us who resonate with this higher view and higher consciousness, we are born to bring in the new age. We are born to work with the small groups and let them grow organically. So we plant the seeds for the next generations and next steps in spirituality. So when you come here, necessarily you will have to face the darkness of a dark world. And initially we may not begin to believe in ourselves because we have come into a totally dark world. Well, not totally dark, but quite dark. We're challenged. And then sometimes it takes a little waking up to who we really are, because we came with greater consciousness in the body, but the darkness of the world challenged us. And sometimes it's a good challenge, because it brings us quickly into the consciousness that we came with. And it allows us to see more divinity in the world. So we can't condemn those who don't yet have the viewpoint. They're still living in the lower areas. We need to have compassion for them. We need to help them. We have come as light workers. When we're born as we do now, when we have come through these 40 days and experiencing such light, we are meant to be light workers. We are meant to support those who are struggling in ignorance. We are meant to stay around them. We are meant to surround them with energy, not to deny them, not to push them away. No. When they come into our field, we need to embrace them. If we don't yet have the power of light, we don't feel it yet because we have not been totally reawakened. Use that challenge to grow your strength and to remember who you are. Don't define yourself by what is around you. Begin to look for what resonates in your soul and what comes up in your soul as truth, not what is expressed on the outside. It's what your inner being tells you. So it's a beautiful story of ascension. And I'm telling you, Bhagavad Gita says, don't unsettle the mind of the ignorant, but be the example. The great person is the example for the generality of men, for the larger society. Be the example. When you carry the light within you, be the example. And the biblical thing is, don't cast pearls before swines. What they will do with the pearls? They can't appreciate the pearls. Don't cast it before swines. So you need to be very circumspect, very careful about who you're passing this information to and how you're passing it. You pass it to those who are receptive, those who will grow in the light. And to the others, you mention it, but you don't become caught up in them if they can't change. Give them time. Change will come as it will come. So your view of your world changes. When you come into the higher consciousness, when your higher consciousness is reawakened or kindled, you see the world differently. You see God in each other. The Christ's words of love your neighbor as yourself comes alive. You don't have to practice it. It comes alive as the consciousness changes. Some of you are so caught up in the practices and the technicality of the practices, you don't realize it's really the consciousness that has to open up. And when it opens up, there's no need for practice. What are you going to practice when it naturally flows from your being? Are you going to practice peace and compassion when it begins to naturally flow as the chakra opens? Try to catch it from the master. Try to catch it from evolved beings until you can actually feel that it's exuding from your being. Don't become so technical. Oh, explain to me what compassion means. I don't understand it. I don't feel it. No, you have to catch it. It's beyond understanding. Use your consciousness to see what is not compassion. Because we are naturally, when the compassion doesn't exist, or is not there yet, or manifest, we are caught up in the other things that we don't like. So begin to move away from the things that you can see and you don't like, and begin to long for this other quality. Don't fantasize about something that only your mind thinks is compassion. No. Begin to really long in your soul for that which is different to everything around you. And move away from everything around you, and a newborn quality will grow inside of you. Compassion. So when we say the steps to wisdom are listening, contemplation, and assimilating, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. It's not about contemplating to such an extent that we become critical and we create superiority complex and our ego gets caught in the contemplation. It's not that. The contemplation should lead you to understand what you're not. And it should allow you to respect what you don't know. Don't try to create it in a shell and a label. No. It's more important to observe what you're not and move away from it and long for this other quality that your soul knows exists, begins to feel it, but cannot define it or describe it. So move away from that which is known and limited, and hold in your heart the longing for that which is unlimited. Unconditional love, no judgment. Patience. Humility. Faith in what resonates in deep within your soul. These are the qualities that are more important to hold, or the longing rather, for them. Freedom. And don't try to define what you think these are. That is not the way to contemplate. And then move away from all these things that your soul doesn't resonate with as you grow in consciousness. And seek that which you feel is deep within your soul but you cannot yet understand. We begin to feel that the divine is in everything. But if we don't yet see it, long to see it. But don't define it in your mind based on what people say. Hold it as knowable, but cannot be described. So begin to observe your consciousness and to hold in your mind the appreciation for growing consciousness, evolution in consciousness, as the view of life changes. And the beauty is, you're going to see her everywhere as your consciousness finally opens up to the truth of existence, that the divine is manifesting in each other. You can see it. When you feel your own opening up, you'll begin to recognize it in the other. And the deeper you go within your divine consciousness, the more you will see divinity in the other. So it's all about transforming your consciousness. And the viewpoint of your world changes. So if you want a viewpoint of your world to change, if you want to see differently, if you want to see what is really there, what do you have to do? Remove the veil from your own eyes. Remove the veil from your eyes. And then the view changes. Simple. You don't have to go to paint the world your color. Just put on our spectacles. And then you're going to see everything in the same color. It is by changing you. The view changes. So can you imagine how I see the world? Can you imagine those who are growing in spirituality and self-consciousness, higher consciousness, see the world differently? And now you can understand why there is so much tamasic behavior in our collective world at the moment. Because they are operating in more the tamasic consciousness. So do you fight with it? No, you try to appreciate and understand it. And you need to do your part in co-creating change. Send your love. Your love is powerful. Your love can radiate. The more you go to the upper chakras, the more expansive your love can be. Look at us. A lot of our people there are virtual. But yet in a moment they can feel the energies that are in this space here. Why is that? Because in an instant, it moves in the consciousness field. The moment I'm experiencing something here, you are picking it up in the same moment. Because even though the body is there, you are still in the center of existence where I am. We are all centered in that same place. It's like the spokes of a wheel. They all come to the center, they all exist in the center. But on the periphery and the circumference, it's different. But there is a communication between the center and the circumference. So though the body is in the circumference, our center of consciousness is in the same place. So when I think something, and we have that center of consciousness existence or awareness, you feel it in a moment. If you can just contemplate the meaning of that, you'll realize that we all exist in the same place, at the same time, in the same moment. And though the body is displaced in a different position, the consciousness is in the same place. So the moment I think or create a thought, you can pick it up right away. Because the consciousness is the medium. Not a sound bite. That's not a medium. It's the consciousness is the medium. And that can be experienced instantly. Doesn't matter how far you are. You could be in Mars, on Mars. You'll pick it up in an instant. But you see it, even in the human communication where they use the ether. Where they create these waves that can reach to the moon when the people are on the moon. That's because they use a medium which travels very quickly. It is not the audio range. It's a higher range of frequency that they use to transmit the information. And you see how quickly? So the thought level is even more instantaneous. Amazing. Truly amazing. So tomorrow we'll talk about core consciousness. And that's where we'll end our 40 days. Be able to appreciate your world, but more importantly, be able to appreciate what's inside here. The potential for the highest consciousness in human existence. That's what drove me into spirituality. My soul resonated with highest consciousness, not higher, highest consciousness. I wanted to be free, completely free, and to exist in the highest consciousness as possible for a human being. That has been my longing as a young person. Begin to appreciate that is possible on the inner journey. That you can ascend the levels of consciousness just with your sadhana. Just with your sadhana. Now you see how important this 40-day sadhana is. And those of you who have journaled, I can see it clearly. And I celebrate your opening up to higher consciousness. I celebrate it when I read it. Let's go into meditation, everybody, on this 39th day. Join me as we ascend the inner space. Let's meet in there, at the core. Welcome back, everyone. Hope that you've been able to climb the floors and do the sadhana of each floor. Let's come back into the body consciousness with the tools that you've learned. I've learned the body so well that I know exactly what it needs at the end of the meditation and during the meditation. And you will catch that as well. You learn to play with the prana. There are no fixed rules. It's what works on a particular day. Learn to work with the moment. I just chose the protocol that the body needed. So I'm not doing it because I've learned an exercise routine. I'm mixing it up as the body needs it. It is the body needs that I'm giving attention to. You know when to stand, you know when to run, when to breathe deeply. You need that gut intelligence. That's Manipura, centering. My eyes can see clearer. My voice has its power, physical power. My sense of touch is heightened. My sense of taste, my sense of smell. And that would have also stimulated the digestive system. Let's do the Om. Breathing out through the mouth and in through the nose. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So remember that you have many flaws, not F-L-A-W-S, F-L-O-O-R-S. You have many flaws in your consciousness levels. Wake them up as you go into the world to die. Activate them. And view your world consistently, that means in a sustained way, from the highest consciousness throughout the day. Offer to the world your best consciousness. Because from your best consciousness comes your best energies. How do you want to greet your world today? With a smile? With a vibrant voice, a loving voice? With radiant eyes that are welcoming and loving? With loving touch? How are you going to greet your world today? Not only the human beings, but the plants, the animals, the pets, with the birds. How are you going to greet your world today? I remember when a little boy, we tried to shoot the birds. And as I grew in consciousness a little bit, oh my God, what is this? Oh my goodness. Cruelty. Yeah, so treat your world from your highest consciousness. And activate every level as you go out to your die. Be conscious of every level of you. See how my posture is? My posture is like this because I'm operating with an entire spinal column. In my meditation, I made my body part of my meditation today. I didn't want to disappear somewhere in the subtle world. I live in a body. I wanted to nourish it in the meditation, nourish it, nourish it, nourish it at every level. The heart, the throat, the brow, which is the brain area, the navel, the sacral, the root. And I want to dance with my world today. Even if nothing dances with me, I'm in a solo dance with my world. But I need to dance in my world, in the flow of energies, in the flow. Wherever I go, a kind word must be expressed, a loving glance, a loving and warm touch. Kind words. That's my way. And if perchance the words seem a little stern, the intention behind it is far from stern. It's totally loving. Sometimes the stern word is clothed in love. If only we can see it. But sometimes it becomes necessary in the world to have a facade that might be a little stern, a little serious. But behind that, the soul can manifest intense love. See how people misunderstood when the master went to the temple and just threw everything apart? Was he acting out of anger, righteous anger? No. He was displaying love that they couldn't understand. The wise are able to use all the gunas with perfection. As you grow in consciousness, as you spiritualize the mental field, you'll be able to use the personas perfectly. Don't try to use them while you're still in tamas or rajas. You can't. It's dangerous. Wait until you grow in consciousness and feel a sense of freedom. And flow. Even if there is stern and serious, there is flow. You're sending out energies. Might be a little stern. Sometimes stern works. Energies travel faster and becomes more understood. Watch your behavior. Let your intentions always be noble towards your world. Meet love with love. Meet anger with love. Love has many faces. Stern is one of them. But most of all, meet your world with wisdom. Understanding and seeing that it is the divine operating in everything. Today in your world, observe it is the divine in the ant, it is the divine in the serpent, it is the divine in the birds. It is divine in all the elements of nature, the water, the earth, and the space, and the air. It's only the divine expressing itself in so many forms. Namostvanantaya, bow to you, O Infinite One. Sahasramurtaye, manifesting in infinite forms. Sahasrapada, kshishirorubhave. Every arm and thigh you're manifesting, and you're walking with the feet. You are seeing with the eyes. You have so many heads. That's what the mantra is saying. Sahasranamne, every name is yours. Purushaya Shashvate, you are eternal in your existence. Sahasrakoti Yugadharini Nama, you sustain, support all millions of cosmic ages. Infinite. To that one I bow. Begin to recognize that it's the divine in everything. See divinity only in your world. Open your eyes as much as you can. If you can't see it fully yet, believe in the possibility that everyone around you is divine. See what happened to the Christ when he came into the Kali Yuga? Telling people to see God in each other. Oh Lord, have mercy. They crucified the body, not the soul. Destroy the body, I'll rise again. You don't destroy the soul. The soul is light, eternal light, that you are. That you are. You are eternal light manifesting in and through a body. You light up this body. And you have the possibility of lighting up your world today. Would you? Would you help to co-create a better world? Would you light up this world today? With the light of wisdom, the light of love, the light of compassion, kindness? Will you light up your world today? Refrain from darkness. It's not your way, O seeker. Refrain from darkness and all temptations towards darkness. So shall I bid you goodbye and have a good day? I prefer to say, I'm with you and you're with me. Let's continue the journey. We meet tomorrow in day 40, everyone. Thank you for a marvelous day. I know it's not morning for all of you. Thank you for a marvelous day. Namaskar.